Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports Podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes. To keep in touch with us, use our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, which are all at Q and Review. That's CUEANDREVIEW. Or get in touch via information@qandreview.com. That's information@CUEANDREVIEW.com. Please like and share our podcasts and give us any constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, August 9. Andy Goram's ashes buried behind goal line at Ibrox. Report by Sarah Pacchiaroni. Rangers hero Andy Goram's ashes have been buried under the Ibrox pitch during a private ceremony. Goram, nicknamed the goalie, passed away 5 weeks ago, aged 58, after being diagnosed with terminal cancer. The legendary goalkeeper's remains were placed behind the centre of the goal line at the Copeland Road stand in a service held by his loved ones, the Daily Record is reporting. The ceremony took place just hours before Rangers played their first home league match of the season against Kilmarnock last Saturday. The club gave Goram's son, Danny, permission to pour the ashes into a specially prepared urn under the turf, which was then marked in his memory. Among those present at the service, led by team chaplain Reverend Stuart Macquarie, was Rangers goalkeeper Alan McGregor. Former teammates also attended to pay homage to the late footballer, including Gordon Durie and Marvin Andrews, along with friends Stan Gordon, Barry Gilmer, Archie Gordon, and family members. Best pal Stan thanked the club for fulfilling the Rangers legend's wish to be placed at the Copeland Road end of Ibrox. And he added, "We can't thank Rangers enough for allowing this to happen. The support the club has given over the last couple of months has been terrific. Rangers are a family club, and what they have done for Andy proves that." The goalie is now in the centre of the Rangers goal line, at his favourite end of the stadium. His ashes being placed there was a bit of an emotional roller coaster. It was a real mixture of sadness and pride. His passing has been heartbreaking, but we're so proud that Andy will now be at every home game with us and the rest of the Rangers support. Goram had told just how he thought he was suffering from indigestion, only for doctors to tell him he had just 6 months to live back in May. However, his condition rapidly worsened, and he died on July 2 at St Andrew's Hospice in Airdrie. His funeral took place at the Wellington Church in Glasgow's West End last month, with a reception at the Davy Cooper Suite at Ibrox after the service. Goram won 5 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cups during his 7 years at Ibrox, after signing from Hibs in 1991. Evening Times Sport, August 9. How Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland fared at Birmingham 2022. Report by Press Association. Birmingham staged the Commonwealth Games, with the event being held on British soil for the 3rd time this century, after Manchester in 2002 and Glasgow 8 years ago. Here, the PA News Agency looks at how the home nations fared this summer. Scotland: gold 13, silver 11, bronze 27, total 51, 6th on the medal table. The star was Eilish McColgan in athletics. Summary: Scotland served up the oldest gold medalist in Commonwealth Games history when George Miller won the Para Bowls mixed pairs title at the age of 75. Eilish McColgan matched her mother Lizzie's 10,000 metres gold at the 1986 Games in Edinburgh for her first major title, while Laura Muir was a popular winner in the 1500 metres. Boxers Sam Hickey, Sean Lazzarini and Rhys Lynch hit the gold trail in the ring, and Duncan Scott showed his class in the pool. It was Scotland's most successful Commonwealth Games outside of Glasgow 2014. England: gold 57, silver 66, bronze 53, total 176, second on the medal table. Star: Jake Jarman in gymnastics. England closed the gap on first-placed Australia in the medals table compared to 4 years ago, finishing second with 10 fewer golds and just 2 overall behind their Southern Hemisphere rivals. Jake Jarman became the first men's gymnast to win 4 gold medals at these games, and success was across the board with athletes in cycling, diving, 3x3 basketball, rhythmic gymnastics, and triathlon among those to shine. Hockey gold was won by the women for the first time. The 4x100 metres relay squad came good on the track, and Olympic champion Adam Peaty produced headlines by both winning and losing in the pool. Wales: gold 8, silver 6, bronze 14, total 28, 8th on the medal table. Star: Olivia Breen in the para-athletics. Wales fell short of their record 36 medal haul from the Gold Coast in 2018 and slipped below Scotland in the standings. But there were still plenty of golden moments, with Olivia Breen's excitement after her surprise win in the T37, T38 100 metres final, lighting up the Alexander Stadium. Discus thrower Aled Sean Davis provided another para-athletics gold, and rhythmic gymnast Gemma Frizzell won the hoop event. Golds for Rosie Eccles and Ian Croft, and 6 medals overall, made it Wales' most successful boxing squad at the Games. Northern Ireland: gold 7, silver 7, bronze 4, total 18, 11th on the medal table. The star was the boxing team. Northern Ireland soared up the medal table, largely in part to their brilliant boxing squad. An 18 medal haul took them past their previous best of 15 at Edinburgh in 1986. Siblings Michaela and Aidan Walsh were part of an extraordinary gold rush in the ring, being joined on top of the podium by Dylan Eagleson, Amy Broadhurst and Jude Gallagher. Swimmer Bethany Firth won the women's 200 metres freestyle S14, and lawn bowlers Sam Barkley, Adrian McCoy, Ian McClure and Martin McHugh triumphed in the men's fours. Report by Press Association. Evening Times Sport, August 9. Jens escapes Celtic suspension. Report by David Irvin. Celtic defender Moritz Jens should have been sent off after netting his first goal for the club against Ross County, a former referee has said. Summer signing Jens headed home for Celtic in the 3-1 win in Dingwall, but should have received a second yellow after rushing into the crowd, according to former referee Des Roach. The central defender powered home in front of a packed away support and sprinted into the arms of adoring fans. But according to the laws of the game, he should have been sent off, having already been booked earlier in the match. Roach explained to the Get Involved Referee podcast, Celtic have got away with one there because Jens should be missing 2 games 2 weeks down the line. If you jump into the crowd or take your top off, it is an automatic yellow card, so it should have been a second caution. I know it was late on in the game. Tensions are high, but laws are laws. It should have been a caution. While Roach was certain in his thoughts on the decision from a rule-book standpoint, the former ref admitted he's not a fan of the law. And he continued, I actually think that kind of celebration and euphoria should be encouraged. As someone who likes to see goals, don't dull it. I don't agree with the law, but it is the law and it should have been applied. I think the way they look at it is that it could endanger the safety of the fans. There could be a crush, which I understand, but I have a feel for the game. Is that bad a thing to do? No. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, August 9. Nick Rogers says, late tee-off times do a disservice to Women's Open golfing spectacular. It's a well-known fact that the golf writers regularly enjoy the kind of scholarly, highbrow, convivial chinwags that used to be the reserve of an ancient Greek symposium. This endlessly fascinating and flabbergasting game, after all, tends to lend itself to chin-stroking analysis, expansive examination, deep-thinking dissection, and erudite exploration. Oh, for goodness sake, muttered one of my learned colleagues, with the cultivated philosophizing you'd hear when Socrates stubbed his toe on a marble plinth. The catalyst for this agonized outpouring, of course, was provided by a draw sheet for the weekend tee times at the AIG Women's Open at Muirfield. For Saturday's third round, the final group blasted off at 3:45. On the Sunday, it was 3:50. Peering at tee times for big events these days is about as uplifting as leafing through the Protect and Survive pamphlet, which detailed the grisly impacts of a nuclear attack. Yes, we all know that television rules the roost, and these times are put in place to suit the markets in the USA. If that meant a final tee-off just before 4 p.m, then poor old Ronnie and Irene from Tranent, with their rucksacks and thermos flasks, are just going to have to grin and bear it. As for the young audience that golf so desperately craves, well, they'll be tucked up in bed as players in the last group mull over a testing 10-footer on the 16th. I always remember a former sponsor of the Men's Scottish Open, which is also thrilled to United States TV times, saying that they don't care how many tickets the tour sold, as long as the company got their name splattered on American television. That almost summed up the contempt in which spectators can be held. When Ashley Buhey, the eventual Women's Open champion, put the finishing touches to her excellent 64 on Saturday, there were precious few folk around to welcome her up the 18th. For a championship that has had its status elevated into a new stratosphere, with a 125% increase in prize money since 2018 and a rota of revered venues, The sparse scene did not make for a great spectacle. At least the grandstand remained full for the thrilling denouement on Sunday. Buhe finally emerged triumphant after 4 playoff holes against In Ji Chung. Had the sparring duo not been separated at that point, there was a genuine fear in the fading light that they would have had to return in the morning to finish the thing off. That would have been a highly unsatisfactory scenario, but it's one that always remains a possibility with such tempestuously late starting times. Buhe's champions press conference was just about conducted in candlelight, while the sight of cursing golf scribblers, with mobile phone torches beaming in the blackness, shuffling back to the media car park in one of the fields that border the links, looked a bit like some sombre satanic procession of the damned. I genuinely thought that I, or at least one or two of my comrades, would come a cropper in the undergrowth. They died as they lived, moaning about the ruddy tea times, it could have been said. Anyway, back to the real troopers. Golf fans can be a fairly stoic, loyal bunch, but you often feel like this dedication is taken for granted. Even the most ardent of followers will have their enthusiasm tested after 8 p.m. on a weekend. Back in June, during a media day for the championship, the R&A stated that they were planning for an attendance figure of around 35,000 over the 4 championship days. The official figure, released on Sunday night, was 33,033. So, us lot moaning that crowd figures were low is tempered by the fact that this is what they were expecting. We should expect more though, because this is a cracking event in every way, tapping into the London population at next year's championship at Walton Heath should see a significant hike. Here in Scotland, we all just have a bit of golf fatigue. A 5-week run of world-class events in a relatively condensed geographical area. The Scottish Open, the Senior Open, the Women's Scottish Open, the Hero Open, and the Women's Open is a heck of a lot to take in. People in times of tight purse strings and the lingering impacts of a pandemic can only go to so much. For what it's worth, I thought the general feel of the first female professional event at Muirfield was lovely. I am not a great fan of cheek-to-jowl crowds anyway, and the relaxed, respectful atmosphere of the Women's Open was a nice escape from the leery, blokey, booze-fueled rammy you can get at other golfing showpieces. The stage was perfect, and the women responded with some tremendous golf. Think of the utter selfishness of the current LIV golf tumult, and then watch the smiling Hinako Shibuno willing Buhe's birdie putt to drop in the final round, even when Shibuno was still in the title hunt, and your faith in the game is restored. The women's game in these isles still has a long way to go. As other female sports in the UK flourish in the mainstream and garner unprecedented levels of coverage, golf continues to muddle on in the margins. Hopefully, though, it's onwards and upwards, and a bit blooming earlier too, says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, August 10. Craig Moore identifies Rangers star who now holds legendary status. Report by Aidan Smith. Craig Moore insists Rangers captain James Tabarny now holds legendary Ibrox status. The Ibrox skipper has been a key figure for the Light Blues in recent times, and his goals and assists numbers from right back are incredible. Tavernier made his 350th appearance for the club last weekend, and during that time he has scored 85 goals and clocked 107 assists. He scored his 85th strike last night when he slotted home a penalty to send Rangers on their way to a stunning turnaround victory over USG in Champions League qualifying. Moore believes the Englishman will now go down in the history books as one of the greatest players to play for the Govan outfit. He told Rangers TV, "It is incredible. I am going to go early on this one, and it is a big call. I think he is a legend, this boy. I think what he has achieved at this football club, and the way he has grown and matured as a football player, his numbers are outstanding. They are incredible. I genuinely don't know a fullback in the world that can knock out these kind of numbers. He is a big game player. The supply and service that he delivers for strikers is incredible. He has nerves of steel when it comes to penalties. For me, he is just a big player. He knows how to get the crowd involved, and more times than not, he comes up with a massive moment." Fellow Rangers TV pundit Neil McCann added, "It is 1 goal in 4 nearly. For a fullback, he can be underestimated. There is a stigma that our game is not strong. I think that was blown away last year. Tavernier should have eradicated any doubt over how good a player he is. His performances were brilliant. I watched him against Chilwell of West Ham, and I am thinking that guy could go to 4 or 5 teams for £20 million. James Tavernier has been playing and banging in goals, and I can't believe the club haven't had to open doors for bids coming in. I really do believe this guy is a top-class player." Report by Aidan Smith. Evening Times Sport, August 10. Celtic's Juranovic a target for Premier League Chelsea. Report by Ben McNichol. Chelsea are considering a move for Celtic fullback Josip Juranovic, according to reports. The Premier League side have been working around the clock to add defensive reinforcements this summer and have already added Mark Cucurella and Kalidou Koulibaly for nearly £100 million. Desmond Dumfries and Kyle Walker-Peters are on Thomas Tuchel's transfer shopping list, but according to 90 Minutes, the Blues have been tracking the Croatian for a number of weeks and could soon make a move. Juranovic joined Celtic for £2.5 million, and Ange Postecoglou's side looks set to make a substantial profit on the defender, who was part of the Scottish Premiership Team of the Year as the Hoops regained the top-flight title. Spanish giants Atletico Madrid have also been credited with a move for the fullback, and Juranovic admitted he was flattered by the links. Following the interest, it has been reported the Hoops have slapped a £15 million price tag on one of their prime assets. Report by Ben McNichol. Evening Times Sport, August 10. Silver tongue Franco Smith seems like savvy pick for Glasgow Warriors, says Martin Hannon. When the appointment of Franco Smith as head coach of Glasgow Warriors was announced, I, for one, was delighted. It would have been so easy for the clamour for the appointment of a Scottish coach to be satisfied. But quite frankly, although there will be a raft of suitable Scottish candidates in a year or two, what the Warriors need right now is a coach with international experience who knows the United Rugby Championship and can bring specialist knowledge to bear on Glasgow's biggest task, coping with the 4 South African teams who have made life hell for just about everybody else in the URC when they are playing at home, and not much easier when they are on the road. Of the main candidates for the job, Dan McFarland stood out on his record in 4 seasons at Ulster, but the man with strong links to Glasgow and Scotland is in the early days of a new contract with Ulster, so it would have cost a bundle to take him to Scotstoun, and the SRU were always unlikely to part with the serious cash required. Not that Smith is second best, as he has been secured from his position as head of high performance for Italian rugby, where he might have carried on for some time. It suggests he was made a decent offer to come to Scotland, and his past coaching record at Cheetahs and Treviso suggests he comes with an insider's knowledge of South African and Italian rugby that can only be good for the Warriors. And as fate would have it, Smith's first URC game in charge of Warriors is in Italy on Friday, September 16, against his old club Benetton. Glasgow must win that fixture to have any chance of success in the URC, and for the real test will come in October, when in successive weeks they play Bulls at Scotstoun, and then go south to face Sharks and Lions on the following 2 Saturdays. Smith's opening exchanges with the media have been pleasing. The 50-year-old talks a good game, and though that is no guarantee that he will be a success at Scotstoun, at least we know the cut of his jib, and I like it. He mentioned Bill McLaren commentating on 5 Nations matches when he was growing up, and Scots always appreciate a nod to the voice of rugby. Smith also emphasised his admiration of Gregor Townsend, which brings me nicely to the point that Warriors need to get back to the winning ways they developed under Tooney, and that is what Smith has pledged to do, also promising to bring back excitement to Glasgow. And let's face it, there was not a lot of that about Scotstoun last season. I particularly like what he told my old colleague Tom English of the BBC. We want to win consistently over a long period, not just have 1 or 2 big games and then regrets. We are looking for a winning brand of rugby, good to watch with people on their feet watching it. It's about scoring tries and working hard, not to give away tries. The fans must see that. They must see the effort and the hard work of the players. We want to be significant in what we do. Now that's the sort of fighting talk we want to hear from the man in charge of one of our 2 professional teams. One of Smith's biggest problems is that he has not been able to buy in his own kind of player. Yes, Glasgow have recruited 5 signings since the end of last season, and they look a good quintet, with the return of Hugh Jones particularly pleasing for the fans. J.P. Dupreez, coming in from Sale Sharks, is also a good signing, and I am reliably informed that the players stepping up from the academy might well make an impact soon. The fact is that Warriors have internationalists at the squad's core, and as professionals I expect they will all soon adjust to their new head coach's way of doing things. It would have been pleasing for Smith to be told by the SRU that there was a secret stash of money for him to spend, but we all know there isn't, and he will have to work with the players that he has been given. Smith has been clever enough not to name any targets for the season, except that he wants to win everything. Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? But I would suggest that beating Edinburgh in the intercity matches at Yuletide and qualifying for the Champions Cup would be the minimum expected by the fans. Given how far the Warriors fell last season, that 76-14 hammering by Leinster in the URC quarter-final was mind-numbing. You could say that for Franco Smith, the only way is up. Let's hope he gets the direction of travel sorted, says Martin Hannon. Evening Times Sport, August 10. PSV granted fixture switch ahead of Rangers Champions League tie. Report by Aidan Smith. PSV have seen a domestic fixture switch ahead of their Champions League showdown with Rangers. The Dutch outfit's Eredivisie game with FC Volendam has been moved to allow thorough preparation for the Euro tie. A club statement read, "As PSV have booked a spot in the UEFA Champions League playoffs, the match versus FC Volendam, originally scheduled to take place on Saturday, August 20, has been moved to Wednesday, August 31, with an 18:45 kickoff. The match at home to FC Volendam was to take place between the two playoff games. By moving the FC Volendam fixture, PSV will have an opportunity to prepare thoroughly for the decisive second play-off leg in the Philips Stadium on 24 August. Evening Times Sport, August 10. Union SG centre-half admits guilt over first-half penalty. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Seb van der Heijden, the Union Saint-Gilloise defender, who gave away a penalty in the Champions League qualifier with Rangers at Ibrox last night, has admitted the home team deserved to be awarded a spot kick. The Belgian side, who were leading 2-0 from the first leg of the third qualifying round double-header, managed to withstand relentless pressure from their Scottish rivals in the first half. But the Greek referee ruled that van der Heijden had handled a Borna Perisic cross just before half-time, and James Tavernier stepped forward and converted from 12 yards. Union SG manager Karol Gerrits, whose team were beaten 3-0 at the end of the 90 minutes and 3-2 on aggregate, claimed afterwards the penalty decision was the turning point in the encounter. But his centre-half has confessed that he was at fault and felt responsible for the collapse which the visitors, who will now go into the Europa League group stages, suffered in Govan. He said, "I tried to head away, but the ball fell unluckily on my arm. It's simple. A cross comes from the second zone. I try to clear it, but an arm stays behind me. It's unfortunate. You know in advance that mistakes at this level will be punished. I do feel a bit guilty. I now have to be professional, review the images, and not let myself be caught up on those kinds of mistakes. We were well organised. Then we made small individual mistakes. We must learn lessons from this meeting. We haven't been able to take advantage of the mistakes Rangers made. They also had some waste in their game. We could have been a bit sharper, but we had a hard time keeping the ball in the team. That could be better. At the end, we had chances to score a small goal. We know that at this level, you have to put them in the net." Van der Heijden denied that the Union SG players were intimidated by the atmosphere. "We were prepared for that," he said. "We were not paralysed by the atmosphere. We can't use that as an excuse. It was the individual faults, the small details that made us lose this second leg against Rangers. It is a pity that it turned out this way. We were disappointed in the dressing room. We let something slip out of our hands, but we can also be proud. We did our best. We have gained an experience. We are also looking forward to the Europa League. Don't forget that we come a long way with this group and with the club. We can go to the Europa League with our heads held high. We are going for it. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, August 10. Van Bronckhorst relishing showdown with Van Nistelrooy. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has admitted he is looking forward to pitting his wits against his former Netherlands teammate Ruud van Nistelrooy when Rangers take on PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League playoff. Van Bronckhorst has stressed that he sensed a burning desire to reach the group stages of Europe's Premier Club competition in his players during their 3-0 win over Royal Union Saint-Gilloise at Ibrox last night. The former Dutch international was delighted with the Europa League finalist display as they came from 2-0 down in the second leg of the third qualifying round with the Eredivisie giants, who overcame Monaco after extra time. He said, "It is very important for us that we keep pushing for this moment. We want to be in the Champions League. The desire has to be in the Champions League. I saw that in my players. We needed a big performance. The pressure was on us because of the defeat we had last week. We know we are capable of producing big nights for the club, but still you have to do it over and over again. That's why I'm so proud in my players and the way they played, with passion, with desire, with fire to go to the next round. That's the way you have to be on the pitch to create the atmosphere we created with the fans. Again, it was an amazing night for all of us." Asked about the prospect of facing PSV, the former Feyenoord manager said, "Well, it is familiar, a familiar team for me. It will be great for me to see Ruud again. We have so many familiar faces on the bench. Fred Rutten, who I was assistant to at Feyenoord a couple of years ago as well, and Andre Ugier, who I played with in the national team. It's a familiar place for me, so it will be nice to be back in Holland for a couple of days after so many months in Glasgow. We are going to prepare well. It is a big chance for us to take the last hurdle and be a team who can play Champions League this season." But Van Bronckhorst confessed that he feared the worst in the Union SG game when Rangers centre-half James Sands was shown a second yellow card by Greek referee after his team had gone 3-0 ahead and was relieved when the match official rescinded it. He said, "We knew that last week it wasn't a penalty, so that made it harder for us. I am just happy with the decisions of the ref. They went in our favour." There was one moment in the second half with James Sands when I thought, this could be a very important moment for the game. It was good for us that he didn't give the yellow card. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, August 11. Celtic closing in on new keeper. Report by Ewan Payton. Celtic are reportedly closing in on a deal for goalkeeper Josh Clark. The former Chelsea and Bournemouth stopper is the subject of interest from several Premier League clubs. The 18-year-old is highly rated and has already been integrated into Ian Barraclough's Northern Ireland first-team squad. The teen is a free agent after a short-term deal at Glenavon expired, and the Daily Record says Celtic are close to sealing a deal for him. The report states that the Scottish champions have been monitoring the player for some time, and it is expected that Clark will go into Celtic's B-team squad initially. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, August 11. Olympic curling champion Eve Muirhead retires. Report by PA Sports Staff. Olympic champion Eve Muirhead has announced her retirement from curling. Muirhead skippered Team GB to gold at the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, adding to bronze from Sochi 2014, and also claimed world and European titles during her career. She posted on social media, "After 15 years of international curling and 21 international titles, I have made the hardest decision of my life to hang up my curling shoes and retire. Throughout my career, and like most athletes, I have experienced both the highest of the highs, becoming an Olympic champion, and the lowest of lows, and at times the future seemed very distant. It has been an emotional journey, but a journey that I am incredibly proud of. Behind every athlete is a team, and I have had the opportunity to work with some of the best, and therefore there are many thanks to be made. I can't thank everyone here, but will do so individually, I hope, over the coming weeks." The 32-year-old Muirhead paid tribute to the support of all her teammates from the bottom of my heart, as well as from the funding received from the National Lottery and UK Sport for the British curling and Scottish curling programmes. Being skip and representing Team Muirhead, Great Britain and Scotland over the years has been a real honour, and one I have never taken for granted, she added. Retiring from curling as a current European, world and Olympic champion is something I always dreamt of, and I am signing off with a huge smile on my face. With regards to what's next, I am looking forward to exploring more opportunities and getting my golf clubs out. But watch this space. Report by PA Sports Staff. Evening Times Sport, August 11. Giacomakis reveals the reason behind choosing number 7. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Celtic striker Georgios Giacomakis has revealed the brilliant reason behind his decision to choose the club's iconic number 7 jersey. The Greek international has donned the number worn by greats such as Jimmy Johnson and Henrik Larsson since he joined the Ange Postecoglou's side last summer. He has been in sensational form since arriving in Glasgow after scoring 17 goals last term, and now he has revealed the hilarious reason behind taking on the squad number after a conversation with a former Hoops player and fellow countryman. He said, "When I called Georgios Samaras before I signed, he said, 'Don't take the number 9. It's pretty heavy because of who wore it before.' I asked him who had said it, and he said, 'Me.' I remember watching the games when he was playing, so I already knew that. The former VVV Venlo attacker was a revelation in the second half of last season and made a significant contribution to the Hoops title success. This included vital moments such as a hat-trick against Dundee in a 3-2 victory on the same day Rangers dropped points, and also a goal in the game in which the boys were crowned champions against Dundee United at Tannadice. The 27-year-old also opened up about his favourite goal and moment so far. He continued, "I feel very good right now. I am settled and really happy playing for this jersey. My favourite moment? I've had many positive memories from the goals I scored. The best moment was the goal at Dundee United, which settled the title. We enjoyed the trophy day as well. The overhead kick in the last game against Motherwell was my best goal, as I was on the line to be top scorer. After that, I knew I had time to get a second one. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Evening Times Sport, August 11. Motherwell appoint Steve Hamill as new manager. Report by Ewan Payton. Stephen Hamill has been appointed the new manager of Motherwell, with the Steel Men confirming the situation today. The rookie boss takes charge of the Fir Park outfit in his first managerial role, penning a 2-year deal. It comes after a near 2-week search for Graham Alexander's successor. Hamill has been in temporary charge of the team during that time, beating St Mirren and losing to St Johnstone. Brian Kerr has been named as the assistant. We told you how Motherwell Chiefs were locked in late-night talks following the completion of all interviews. Now the Premiership side have confirmed Hamill is the man to lead them going forward. The 40-year-old steps up permanently from his role as Academy Director. Chairman Jim McMahon said, "We ran a very robust process that started with over 70 applicants. We met last weekend to narrow that down to a final 3, and we spent time interviewing them over the last few days. All 3 candidates were impressive, and each brought their own positive, but Stephen was the unanimous pick of the directors and Welsh Society board members who sat on the panel. He inspired us with not only his short-term plans to reshape the quad and adapt the style, but his medium to long-term vision around a fully integrated club, and we felt this matched how we see the future of the club. We think he will bring many qualities to the job that he has demonstrated running the biggest department at the club for almost 5 years, and it is abundantly clear to us that he has the support and buy-in of the current squad and staff. We are going to have a busy few weeks and months ahead, but the board will give Stephen all the support we can to be successful." Hamill added, "It is an honour for me to be given the responsibility as manager of this wonderful club, and something I am very excited about. The last 2 weeks have given me an even bigger appetite for it, and I am determined and ambitious to take this team on and put my own stamp on it. I hope I can continue to get my message across and give our supporters a team that will entertain them, and a team that they can see are giving their all. I have also spent that time assessing the squad and where I believe our short-term needs are. I think we have some hugely talented players in this group, and it is now my job to get the best from them. I also have first-hand knowledge of the exciting young players at the club, and we will integrate them into the first-team environment when they are ready. In addition, I think the players need some help with some new faces, as well as taking the team and planning my application. I have been busy identifying potential targets should I be successful in getting the job. Now that I have, one of my first tasks will be to look to strengthen our options across a couple of areas. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, August 11. Jota's former Benfica mentor on why Celtic winger is nailed on to reach whole new level. Report by Ben McNichol. Jota's former coach, Yao Traoré, has revealed that he believes there's a lot more to come from the Portuguese after finding his home at Celtic. The 41-year-old, who was most recently assistant at League One side Monaco, insists that the winger is one of a rare calibre of players who possess the desire to better themselves, and that's just as important as his goals, assists and fancy footwork. Traoré played a leading role in Jota's journey from Benfica to Glasgow, and he has backed the 23-year-old star to shine even brighter under Ange Postecoglou. He told the Daily Record, "I really know Jota well, as I coached him for 3 complete seasons. I know him well both as a person and as a player. As a person, he has an amazing character. He's very clever, has football intelligence, and is very focused. He knows his goals, and that focus was clear from the first moment I saw him. He wanted to reach first-team level as soon as possible. It's not easy to find a young player with focus, intelligence, and a willingness to be a hard worker. To find such a talented player with all of those qualities is rare, but he's always had a massive working capacity. He has used all of those factors to become one of the best players in the Scottish League, and you have seen that already this season. Jota's talent is unlimited. He can play on the right and on the left, and can do everything with both feet. He can cross, he can create, and he can dribble. He can shoot, and he can score goals. That's the complete player. What you see with Jota is a superior mentality and a focus which makes him a special talent. He sets his goals and works hard to reach them. I'm not surprised he's adapted so well to Scottish football, as I know Scottish football and British football's reality. It's a demanding environment both in terms of football and technical things, but it's also a different style in terms of mentality. To play in a league like the Scottish Premiership is a change in pace, as it's a very quick style of football. You need to have the right mentality to play there, and I knew Jota had that mentality. I knew he would succeed, so what he's achieved has not surprised me. Celtic are a massive club. It was a huge challenge for him to move there and show the best of himself, and he did that last season. He's at a club with incredible supporters, and he's at a club which has a big name in Europe, so you need to be a special talent and have a special mentality to play there. Last season he did well. I have no doubt that this season he will do even better, and Celtic fans are going to see that already. I keep a close eye on how he's getting on, and the last few games have been amazing. 1 goal and 4 assists in his opening 2 games are terrific stats for any player. What he's adding to his game has been really amazing. He's desperate to succeed, and I have no doubt he'll again show himself to be one of the most exciting players in the league and in Europe this season. I have no doubts that he'll continue to take forward steps in his career. To play abroad is not easy for any player. Report by Ben McNichol. Evening Times Sport, August 11. PSV Eindhoven's danger men outlined. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Ronald de Boer has looked on from his native Netherlands in the past 9 months and marvelled at the job which his friend and former teammate Giovanni van Bronckhorst has done as Rangers manager. He has been amazing, the one-time Ibrox forward and currently Ajax A1 assistant said. He has put Rangers back on the map in European football. They were a little bit out of sight before. There is certainly a lot of talk over here in Holland about them. Yet de Boer can sense that Ruud van Nistelrooy, whom he played alongside at international level towards the tail end of his trophy-laden career, is making exactly the same sort of impact at PSV Eindhoven. He felt the Dutch giants were outplayed by their French rivals Monaco for long periods in the second leg of their Champions League third qualifying round double-header on Tuesday night, and were fortunate to prevail and progress. However, he was impressed with the will to win which the Red and Whites displayed throughout the tense encounter, and believes that Van Nistelrooy, who only took over as head coach in the summer, deserves great credit for their admirable attitude. The man who helped Ajax to beat AC Milan in the final of Europe's premier club competition back in 1995 is confident that his old club Rangers are capable of beating PSV in the play-off and securing a lucrative place in the group stages for the first time in 12 years. But he expects the forthcoming matches to, despite the inexperience of the one-time Manchester United and Real Madrid striker in the dugout, and the deficiencies in his team, which he is still striving to address, be fiercely contested affairs. He said, PSV were lucky to get through to the next stage of the Champions League. If you analyse the game, Monaco were the better team, but of course the better team doesn't always go through in football. PSV were very lucky to get an equaliser in the dying seconds and take the game to extra time. Eric Gutierrez scored with a header in the 89th minute to make it 2-2. Monaco were also the better team in extra time, but they hung in there. That says something about the mentality that Van Nistelrooy has instilled in his players. As long as they are still alive, they give everything. That is what the PSV team is about. They don't give in, they don't give up. That is a credit to Ruud. He has given his players that mindset. They kept on believing and gave everything, just like Real Madrid in the Champions League quarter-final, semi-final and final last season. Their opponents were the better team every time, but in the end, they won every time. Ruud has obviously said, if we don't control the game, we must be compact. That is what he has brought to the team. In extra time they tried to play the ball wide to the wingers and get crosses into the box. He has got one of the best headers in the modern game in Luc de Jong, and he scored a winner. De Jong, the former Borussia Mönchengladbach, Newcastle United and Seville Predator, who returned to his homeland in the summer after a season with Barcelona, is a player who James Tavernier and his teammates will have to be wary of in the Champions League play-off. If they are as careless in possession at the back as they were in their 3-0 triumph over Royal Union Saint-Gilloise in Govan on Tuesday night, then the 38 times capped 31-year-old will punish their mistakes ruthlessly. De Boer stressed that he is not the only danger man who Van Nistelrooy has at his disposal, and explained that winger Cody Gakpo, who both Arsenal and Manchester United are keen to sign, as well as midfielders Ibrahim Sangar and Joey Veerman, will need to be closely marked. He continued, for me, Gakpo, Sangar and Veerman are PSV's most important players. Joey in particular. He is very influential in midfield. He makes the attack fluid. Most of the time, attacks start with him. Veerman has the patience to play the ball between the opposition midfield and the defence, or behind the opposition defence. Sangar plays a more defensive role in the midfield and contains opposition sides well. Luke always tries hard for 90 minutes. Neither he nor Gakpo were particularly good in the Monaco game on Tuesday night. But, as I say, PSV never give up, even when they are not in the game. That is what I like about them. They do not let their heads go down. They fight for every metre and try to win another way. Because they didn't give in, they had an important role in that victory. De Boer, who scored 40 goals and won every major honour in the Scottish game during the 4 years that he spent at Rangers, revealed that many of his compatriots are tipping PSV to triumph in the play-off after their Monaco heroics, but he thinks his old club can go through. He said, "Rangers have a good chance, but so do PSV. The thinking in Holland is that Monaco are a better team than Rangers, and PSV will win. But I don't think Ruud, his staff and his players will take Rangers lightly. They will know that they have to be on top of their game to win. It will be the first major achievement in Van Nistelrooy's embryonic managerial career if they do," said De Boer. "I like Ruud as a person and I like how he conducts himself. But what I really like about Van Nistelrooy is that he is not naive. He knows that if his team is not as strong as their opponent, then they have to make sure they make it difficult for them. If you can't win, don't lose. Of course his team will get better. It is still early in the season. He is still finding out what the best shape for the midfield is, and what his best front three is, especially the right winger. Who is going to play there is not really clear. Normally Noni Madueke plays there, and he is a very good player, but he has been injured for a while and is out. He has two youngsters, Ismail Sebari and Johan Bakayoko. In general though, PSV have a good team. I like the team. Ruud is searching for the best team to play with the philosophy that he has. He will always want his side to play attractive football and try to dominate the game. But if that is not possible, he is realistic. They can also play well on the counter-attack. They have got some quick players. Under Roger Schmidt, who is now the manager of Benfica, they often played in a 4-2-2-2. But every manager has his own way of playing. Under Ruud, they play with a 4-3-3. You have to find a way of hurting your opponents, and I'm sure they will. But Ruud only has coaching experience with youth sides and second teams. On Tuesday night, his team was a minute away from going out. The outcome could have been totally different. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, August 12. Celtic's Joe Hart in England World Cup squad. Why it is not unthinkable. Report by Ben McNichol. Chris Sutton admits it is likely Joe Hart will not be part of England's World Cup squad for Qatar in November. But should injuries occur, the 75 times capped goalkeeper could be the one to step in. The keeper was not part of Gareth Southgate's 23-man squad for the 2018 World Cup and has not featured for his country since a goalless draw with Brazil in 2017. Hart, who joined Celtic on a 3-year deal last summer, played a pivotal role in bringing the title back to Parkhead last season with a string of impeccable performances. He has turned his career around in Glasgow's East End after difficult spells at Burnley and Tottenham, and will get to compete in the Champions League once again with the Hoops this season. Sutton told the Daily Record, "I am not in the dressing room, but from what I can tell, Hart has been absolutely vital to the success of the team, as he's a leader in there. He will go back into the Champions League group stage this season as one of the club's most influential figures. Will he get to Qatar? Chances are no. even if he shines in Europe. Jordan Pickford is doing well and has never let Gareth Southgate down, while Aaron Ramsdale is also performing well at Arsenal. The number 3 slot might be up for grabs come November, and there could be injuries, and you wouldn't put it past Hart shining in the Champions League and stating a World Cup case. In truth, I'd imagine that he'll be down his priority list. Maintaining a big influence at Celtic and performing with distinction will be his only target. If Hart's first year at the club tells us anything, it's that he's going to do it. Report by Ben McNichol. Evening Times Sport, August 12. Jack Ross apologises to Dundee United fans. Report by David Irvin. Jack Ross apologised to travelling Dundee United fans after a nightmare in the Netherlands, with AZ Alkmaar ending their Europa Conference League hopes with a 7-0 win. The Tannadice boss admitted it was a bruising night for United players and staff as they went down to a record-levelling European defeat in front of 1,300 away fans. Alkmaar were rampant on their own turf, with United's 1-goal advantage wiped out before a further 6 goals were scored. And Ross accepts his side deserve every bit of criticism levelled at them over the defeat, after receiving huge praise for the first leg result. Speaking on BBC Scotland, he admitted, "For every plaudit and praise we received in the aftermath of last Thursday, I think we deserve every bit of criticism we get on the back of that. We played against a good team at a tough venue, but we conceded 6 goals in 26 minutes between the first goal and the 6th one just after half-time. That's not good, irrespective of the opponent. So what I would say is that to always level it at me, I'm broad-shouldered enough to deal with it in terms of preparation, selection choices. It was a tough night for us. We did not win fortuitously last week. I think we deserve to do so. It doesn't count for much. I think the opening 20 minutes we were okay, and even going behind to the first goal, we obviously have the chance with Ian not long after it. But all the discipline we showed in our play without the ball last week, we didn't do as well, and we didn't deal with the period of adversity well in this first half. That's something we have got to be better at, irrespective of the opponent and the venue. The goals from our point, I think, were poor in terms of some of the decision-making involved in it. It's a sore night for us. The players should feel sore. I feel sore, because your pride is very much not just dented, damaged by that. But we've got to dust ourselves down and get ready for the league game on Sunday. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, August 12. Partick Thistle sign Kilmarnock defender on loan. Report by Ewan Payton. Lee Hodgson has joined Partick Thistle. The 30-year-old defender has signed on a 6-month loan deal from Kilmarnock. The experienced fullback helped Killie to championship title glory last season, and Ian McCall will be hoping the former Northern Ireland international can help do the same for the Jags this season. McCall said, "Lee was my number 1 target to add to the defensive ranks, and I am delighted that he is joining us on loan. It took a little bit of time to do, but he is a quality player, and it is always worth waiting that little bit of time for someone who will add quality to our squad." Lee has experience of winning at this level, being part of the Kilmarnock team which won the league last season, and he's a player that I can see making a real impact in our squad this season. Lee is the perfect type of defender as he is versatile and can fill in across the back line. He's equally comfortable in both full-back positions, but he doesn't look out of place at centre-back as part of a back three, and he'll push the rest of our defenders all the way to keep their place in the starting 11. Hodgson, who has also played for Rangers, Hamilton and St Mirren, will wear number 16. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, August 12. Rangers update provided by Van Bronckhorst. Report by Ewan Payton. Rangers manager Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has provided a squad update ahead of this weekend's match against St Johnstone. The Light Blues host Callum Davidson's side tomorrow afternoon at Ibrox, and Van Bronckhorst insists his side will be aiming to make it 3 wins from 3 in the Premiership so far. There are no fresh injury concerns for the club as they look forward, and Van Bronckhorst was asked for a squad update when speaking to the club's own TV channel. He said, "We have a lot of players back now. We have a big squad to choose from. After our last training session, we will see who is going to start and for the best game plan we need for playing against St Johnstone." On Thursday, Serry Bowley's appointment to the Rangers backroom staff was confirmed when he joined from the City Football Club, and Van Bronckhorst added, "I worked with him a couple of years ago and built up a good relationship with him. I am happy that he's joining my staff. He will help all of us to improve our players. The players will work so closely with him to make sure their developments are faster and so that we can identify all of the areas that we want to see improvement in. When we joined in November, there were quite a few new members of staff. He joins us in this moment, but we are still one team. We are working hard in this department to get the best results on the pitch. The key is to have good communication, work together, and to reach the goal that we all have, which is to bring success to the club." Much like Livingston and Kilmarnock in previous games, it is expected that St Johnstone will implement a low block while defending at Ibrox. Van Bronckhorst says that with every passing game, Rangers are improving in handling these types of challenges. He said, "It's another home game. Of course, we saw last week against Kilmarnock where we see a team defending in a low block. There won't be many spaces for us to play in. We approached that game really well. Sometimes you need patience in those games. For us, we want to win every game. We want to maintain our 100% record in the league. We need to have our positions right on the pitch. The movement has to be there at the right time. The speed of our passing needs to be high, otherwise you won't find any spaces. We are improving in those departments with every game because we have played more together and the players are more used to each other. We are getting stronger and stronger in each game that we play." Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, August 15. Murray named in Great Britain Davis Cup squad. Report by David Irvin. Andy Murray has been named in the Great Britain squad for the upcoming Davis Cup Finals group stage. The Scotland sporting icon is part of the 4-man team for the matches in Glasgow next month. Murray will join Cameron Norrie, Dan Evans and Joe Salisbury for the competition under captain Leon Smith. Great Britain will play USA, Kazakhstan and the Netherlands between September 13 to 18 in Glasgow, with the matches being played at the Emirates Arena in Glasgow. On the squad announcement, Smith said, "I am delighted to name such a strong team to take on the other 3 nations. We have really good strength and depth at the moment, and selections have been tougher than ever. Emirates Arena has been a brilliant venue for our team in the past, creating some of the best atmospheres and memories our players have experienced. We are very excited to bring Davis Cup back there for the first time in over 4 years, and look forward to a packed-out stadium making some serious noise for our team. Murray is returning to the competition for the first time since 2019 and can't wait to perform in front of a home crowd. He said, "It's always special playing in a Davis Cup tie in front of a home crowd. Some of the best moments of my career have come representing my country in the Davis Cup, so to be a part of the team again means a lot. Obviously, it is exciting that the competition is returning to Glasgow. We have had some brilliant results there in the past, and this is another chance for us to create even more history. We've got a strong team, and we'll be giving everything we can to get the win for the fans and book our place in the finals." Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, August 15. The Monday kick-off. The PSV wonder kid, whom Rangers will need to be wary of. Report by James Morgan. Xavi, the man Rangers might have to be wary of. One thing that Rangers run to the final of the Europa League and across previous seasons in the competition demonstrated is that they are not afraid of the reputations of their much-vaunted opponents. Over the course of their travels, Rangers have seen off some big names, albeit those in the second tier of the continent's very best, with perhaps the exception of Porto and Borussia Dortmund. PSV Eindhoven are a team that falls into a similar category as those named. Porto were not the force of old when the sides met in 2019, and when Dortmund took on Rangers back in late February, they were without the services of Erling Haaland. How might history have been changed had the Norwegian been available to the German side for those 2 round-of-32 matches? Similarly, there is enough to suggest that PSV can be vanquished in similar fashion. Certainly, history favours Giovanni van Bronckhorst's side. Rangers have never lost to their Dutch counterparts in the Champions League or European Cup, although in their most recent meeting in the 2010-11 Europa League, and Jermaine Long's goal in the second leg at Ibrox was enough to send PSV through to the quarter-finals. How do this iteration PSV, runners-up in the Eredivisie last season, compare to that side? Favourably, it seems. It is a side packed with a healthy mix of seasoned pros and up-and-coming youngsters, such as Cody Gakpo, currently the object of Manchester United's desires, cunning English winger Noni Madueke, and languid midfielder Ibrahim Sangar. But perhaps the most intriguing of the young talents at their disposal is Xavi Simons. The 19-year-old is a graduate of La Masia and was, during his time, at the famed Barcelona Academy, spoken about in the same manner in which Lionel Messi used to be touted. Somewhere along the journey, the diminutive Simons lost his way, was badly advised, and ended up at Paris Saint-Germain chasing Euros. He made just 7 appearances in the first team. His start at PSV, however, has been promising. The attacking midfielder scored twice in Saturday's 5-2 win over go-ahead Eagles, to add to the goal he scored against Ajax in the Johan Cruyff Shield at the start of the season. And while these are early days, Simons has long been tipped as the long-term successor to Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Scottish football fans might get a glimpse at whether that claim is fanciful or not over the course of the next week. Sky's the limit. Back when Rangers were imploding at the start of the last decade, Herald Sport ran a feature about the historic value of the TV deal and whether the SPL, as it was then, received the bang for its buck. The article concluded that the league's hierarchy had undersold the deal. Admittedly, it was at a time when all and sundry were screaming Armageddon over the imminent demise of Rangers and what it might mean for broadcast rights. Ever since those days, it appears Neil Doncaster and those figures at what become the SPL's replacement, the SPFL, have feared a similar cataclysmic event and have been prepared to accept whichever low-ball offer came the league's way, as evidenced by news that the SPFL and Sky Sports are in talks about renewing the deal for a paltry £30 million. Accepting a pittance for Scottish football rights, not least when the number of games available has been increased and the rest of the schedule has been ring-fenced, was understandable during a time of great uncertainty, but it is an undeniable reality that Scottish football stock is far greater now than it was then. Rather than having to defend the product or paint away negatives, the SPFL is in a position of strength. Celtic and Rangers matches are a thing again. The latter reached a major European final, and as a result of Brexit, big English clubs, and increasingly those from Italy, now do their shopping and scouting in Scotland as they look for young talent to hone for themselves. Maybe it's time to start accentuating that, rather than fearing a tomorrow that might never come, but one which is much more likely to materialise when the product is repeatedly sold short by those who are meant to promote it. Midtjylland and Kennedy, a perfect match. John Kennedy was often a scapegoat for Celtic supporters who derided him during his time as Neil Lennon's assistant in the instantly forgettable 2020-21 season when the 10-in-a-row dream died. It was grossly unfair on Kennedy, who the current Celtic manager Ange Postecoglou described last week as outstanding. Certainly, that's what the recruitment company, One Nexus, employed by Midtjylland have concluded after being asked to conduct a trawl of the best men to replace their recently departed head coach, Bo Henriksen. If Kennedy is being targeted by the Danes, then he must be doing something right. The club is one of the best run in Scandinavia, and recruitment is central to a success story that has brought 6 trophies in 24 years since the club's formation in 1999. This is where Kennedy comes in. Sven Graversen, the Midtjylland sports director, told Herald Sport last year that the club's recruitment strategy had now extended beyond measuring whether the individual in question was not just suitable based on talent, but also on whether their personality was a fit with the club's ethos. He said, "The key problem in many scouting processes is that the person does not fit the values and the way you work in the clubs. That is the hard part to get around, and this is something that we are looking into. How we interact together is essential." Golf's murky Goldfish Bowl. There was much hullabaloo about Scotty Scheffler's decision to march across the line of Cam Smith's putt at the FedEx St Jude Championship last week. Was this a sign that Scheffler was flipping the bird to the Australian, who has refused to confirm or deny reports that he is about to defect to the Saudi Arabian LIV series? Scheffler was called out repeatedly on social media for the act, apparently a more egregious crime in golfing circles than, accepting millions of pounds from a state that indulges in the murder of journalists, the persecution of critics, the oppression of women, and the complete denial of LGBT rights. It says much about the Goldfish Bowl that golfers and assorted aficionados lurk in when actual human rights violations are considered less of an offence than Scheffler making a point, if indeed that's what he was even attempting to do. Or indeed when the Saudis are cozying up to Donald Trump, a man who has just had his house raided by the FBI because he is under investigation for potential violations of the Espionage Act. Ojabo back on his feet again. News from the NFL. David Ojabo has featured in the Monday kickoff more than once in the past, so it only seems right to give a progress update on his recovery from injury. Last time we checked in on the Baltimore Ravens linebacker, who grew up in Aberdeen, he had just torn his Achilles during his pro day. The former Michigan standout had been slotted to go in the first round of the NFL draft, but the injury sustained that day meant he ended up sliding all the way to the second round. It complicated his contract negotiations. He stood to earn a payday in the tens of millions, to such an extent that he ended up being the last of the league's entire draft class to sign his deal. It sounds as if it will be worth the wait for the Ravens, whose head coach John Harbaugh said last week that Ojabo was ahead of schedule on his return. He swears he's going to be back mid-season at the latest. I told him, all right, time to get in the weight room. We've got to get rid of those beach legs and get some football legs back underneath you, he said. 7. The number of points Celtic have dropped at so-called tricky Rugby Park over the past 10 years. The bulk of those lost points, 6, came during Scotland manager Steve Clarke's time as Kilmarnock boss. Report by James Morgan.
And that was this week's Glasgow Times Sport podcast, normally recorded in our studio at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, currently recorded from our volunteers' homes with the publisher's kind permission. Thanks for listening.